because that's important. Okay. All right. Welcome everyone to October 4th's episode of MP Office Hours. It is awesome to see all of you. Wherever you're joining, whether it's on recording or live, we are all here to be our very best and help each other get there. We took a little time off in September because of one of our favorite weeks of the year, Dreamforce, and now we're back on track. And so why don't we go ahead and kick off? I'm joined by all of our normal hosts. Dale Ziegler, say hi, Dale. And Joy Shutter's helping is
hello,
joining from the airport, but that doesn't mean she's not fully engaged. Our buddy Mike's there in the background. He never stops working. That's why his head's down. You can reach us through LinkedIn. It's probably the best way. All of our hashtags are there on the actually not hashtags, they're link tags, whatever they're. Reach us there. There it is, hashtag from Stu. MP Office Hours on the X is there. The X is, I think, probably dying, but whatever. And you can reach us by email, but we don't recommend that. The best way to reach us and to ask your questions and to look for help is always the Success Community. It's your friend. Use it, and not only just use it for your own good, but help other people too. We're all out there trying to make each other better. Our next call will be scheduled for the 18th, 2 weeks from today. Yes, that math's right. And you can register on the bit.ly link there on the left-hand side. Everyone that's on the call already knows that because you're already here. If you have a question while you're here today, though, make sure you raise your hand or put it in the chat. We'll get you in the order they're received. And we invite everyone to share what they know, what they're learning, what they've learned from. Mistakes are as important as successes. Post links and resources in the chat. We try to keep them all aggregated in the call notes. You can share your screen, but as you already saw, we are recording. Please don't share anything that's private or proprietary. We're not going to do any editing, and we want to make sure everyone's protected. We want to have fun and be informal, but let's be professional and positive if possible. And one last time, we are going to remind everyone that we're recording.
Professional if possible. I like it, Square. I like it.
Yeah. Sometimes reality steps on your toes as far as what you're attempting to do. So we've all been there. There's a lot of stuff coming up in October. Florida Dream actually just ended, or is it still happening?
It's wrapping up currently.
Okay.
It's wrapping up currently. I had some work calls that we needed to be in place for. So I'm at the airport a little bit earlier than I would have normally, but they're wrapping up with the closing keynote shortly.
Coming up though, Life Sciences Dreamin' in Philly, Northeast Dreamin' in New Hampshire, We Dreamin' in Oklahoma City. I think one of those was virtual, or maybe mutual.
I don't know.
Not sure.
One of them.
There's a couple world tours coming up in October, November, and early December. And Commons Community Spirit in Chicago is the third week of November. All Salesforce community and local events can be found on salesforce.com/events. You can also sneak up on it from Trailhead if you're really creative. Yeah, let's leave that there. I know actually, did we miss anything or leave anything out? It doesn't always get posted to those sites.
Dreaming in Data. I did hear about that one. I talked to the organizers. Yep. Talked to the organizers this week.
When is that?
I taught Dreaming in Data.
It's on voting day, November 4th. Is on November, I don't know, whatever day it is voting day. 11/4, yeah.
Thank you, Carolyn. November 4th to the 6th.
And also if
there's
anyone
also Mexico Dreaming in December 5th.
There is.
Nice.
There is.
And if anyone went to a little thing called Dreamforce, during Dreamforce, or you don't even have to go, you can watch it on Salesforce Plus. During Dreamforce, they talked about and they showed a lot of demonstrations around AI. And they also announced that starting in November that they'll be doing training, different trainings on their AI products and free certification in the AI products. I think that you should all be excited about that. I was excited about the demos that I saw on the new Agentforce stuff, and just that all the stuff they're doing with AI and AI building and prompt building, all that stuff. I would encourage everybody here to learn at least a little bit of that AI stuff because it is going to affect your products.
Yeah, I sat through 3 of those last week. There was the builder, agent force, and there was, forget what the title of the third one was, but it was like 3 2-hour segments, and they set us up with orgs and whatnot that we're going to be good through mid-October. So it's exciting stuff.
I found the AI associate trail to be really valuable to kind of get your feet wet and figure out what you care about for the next step. It's just generic enough and dialogue driven, and it's less about hands-on and more about like, here's what you probably should know. That I would say start there, and then you know right where to go and lean into what
100%.
Yeah.
I also think the associate certification trail is exactly perfect for taking that exam. If you know what they present to you, like, well, and you can regurgitate that into a multiple choice exam, then you will be all set for that one.
The other thing I heard rumor of, there's no guarantee that it wasn't just a rumor, but there's conversations being had that I don't know about anyone else, but I'm a huge fan of super badges. They're going to be they're planning to make some changes to how super badges fit into kind of the certification roadmap, and they're going to be less about like a really hard exam, a really hard like problem to solve, and more about this is how you're going to prepare for that cert.
Interesting.
And I don't know how quickly or if it's really going to happen, but that was the talk, that it would make more sense to say, here's your trail, here's your super badge. Now you know you're ready for the certification kind of mentality. So
like here's the knowledge. Here, apply the knowledge.
Yeah.
Go take the exam. There's more of a step-by-step. That's cool.
Yep. Maybe not. I mean, again, it was just rumor, but it would be super cool. Not that the super badges aren't already great. There's lots of good content there, but anyway. All right. With that, let's jump to Resource Hall of Fame. There hasn't been any new updates to this section, but Joy, you added all this stuff to our main page in the
I did.
right?
I did. Cool. Like in the community, yeah.
Yeah. So if you haven't already hot linked order of execution, data access modeling, well architected websites, things like that, it's a good way to get to them. They're your friends. And with that, I think we're at questions, unless anybody else has anything they want to wax poetically about.
Diane was in the chat real quick about having a question. So
cool. And I saw nothing in success, which doesn't mean that I didn't miss it, but I just want to make sure. So
I didn't see anything either. So yeah. I think it's empty.
Excellent.
Cool.
Excellent.
Well, then I think we should jump right to Diane. Diane, take it away.
Hi, thank you. I feel dumb, but I'm trying to report on files that are associated with accounts, and I just cannot figure out how to do it.
Say more about what you're trying to report.
So I have a group, our customer success organization. They have to do quarterly account planning strategy, I should say account strategy documents. And it's a template that they use, and then they're supposed to upload those to accounts, their accounts. And the leaders of each of these groups want to be able to see which accounts have those account strategy documents or not. And I was like, oh yeah, let me just write you a report. And I can't write that report. I've tried several different things. What, am I crazy or?
No, you're not crazy.
No.
Yeah, files, if I'm not mistaken, files are such a robust functionality that it's almost like it's not an object that can be reported on.
Wow. Well, I was able to use demand tools to export the content document link, but I can't. That's not usable. I don't let anybody but myself use demand tools for obvious reasons.
Right.
So, okay. Well, that's sad.
It is, but it's also an opportunity. And here's why. So in financial services specifically, I'm sure other companies have the same problem. There's lots of like know your client and kind of cover your ass type storage and things that have to be linked to opportunities, that have to be linked to accounts to kind of close the deals. There's nothing about linking a file to an object that says that has been accomplished. right? I could load a screenshot of my electric bill and say it's the thing that you said it was, and there's no like credibility to that. So
Right.
there's an opportunity here to do something unique to help almost in like a governance perspective. So I'm going to use my example, but I'm sure there's better examples. We effectively took what is called action plans in Financial Services Cloud, reverse engineered it, and built a model that effectively creates an activity assigned to the account owner that says loaded the file or something to that extent. That person has to not only close the activity, but link the file to it. Now you have tracking that says, this is the file. This is the record that says I loaded the file. And then you can do cool things like roll-ups and say, did all the activities that needed to be done that achieve the document requests or document requirements get closed. You can like bubble that up to the surface with flows or with roll-ups or whatever. It still puts ownership on someone actually doing a step, but it gives you as an admin, and it gives you the ability to other things like validations to say, the thing didn't get done, so you can't close this, or you can't move it forward, or I'm going to send a notification to my manager that certain tasks aren't open. That can be really valuable and turn into really what it sounds like you're trying to accomplish, which is less about the reporting of the file and more about did the tasks that are required to get this thing done get done. I'm going to stop talking.
Okay.
And Michael and Mike have both put in great points about either DLRS or flows to be able to actually go count those, because they are queryable. They're just such an abnormally shaped entity and content document and everything that the reporting framework doesn't fit on top of it. But I would also pose the question, would any kind of AI, would any kind of Einstein, would anything like that, if you're paying for it, be able to actually go into those files if you've trained your prompts well? And I know that's huge.
Yeah.
That's massively next step, but I'd be curious to know if that's in the realm of possible.
Yeah, probably. Although ChatGPT couldn't help me at all. But anyway, I love all the suggestions. This was just supposed to be temporary. We actually were acquired and we're migrating our instance over to another instance of Salesforce. So we were just looking for something short term. So I'm not interested in building out anything, you know, for now, because it's temporary, right?
It's someone
So-
else's problem.
So
Well, do it for fun for you to just learn and roll your sleeves up. I don't know, you don't have to tell anybody you did it, but that could be
Yeah.
fun, right?
So Diane, this is not a dumb question at all. This is a great question. And you're not the only one who thinks this is way silly. There is an object, you probably already know this, but for the rest of the people that don't, there's an object called content document link. It's all one big word. And this is how Salesforce relates content or files and attachments and notes and other weird things to the rest of the world. And I put a thing in chat, a link in chat that talks about some of the reasons why this is a horrible object to try and query, because it uses polymorphic fields all over the place, and we in the reporting world know that we hate polymorphic fields for a number of reasons. And I know you love them. And then the other thing is there's a bunch of things you can't do with the content document link object. So
yeah, like create a report type. Because I try.
Yeah, nope.
We got to also remember content document born eons ago, before we had any of what we have today. Salesforce doesn't revamp the entire platform all at once. I mean, look at Lightning. Lightning's still not 100% parity.
What's wrong with Lightning?
Dale.
I didn't say there was anything. What? No, what I'm saying though is like,
Did it refresh everything?
I'm okay. I'm gonna own I'm not in the best brain space, haven't been for the last few weeks. So I'm really trying to like fight anybody who says anything negative and say, come on, let's lean positive. But it doesn't all just happen in one fell swoop. Things were born to do certain things in certain ways. And while it might be horrible from an experience standpoint, we got to remember maybe it actually was to protect us from us. Just because we want to do all the things doesn't mean we should do all the things. You know? Anyway, that's my piece. I'll go on mute.
Don't go on mute, Dale. We like it.
I also, if you're not looking at chat, Michelle dropped a link to an idea that has a
Yeah.
lot to do with being able to report on that. So if it's
Yeah.
important, pull it up.
It just, to me, seemed like a no-brainer. I'm like, yeah, sure, I can get you that. Just give me 5 minutes. And all of a sudden it's 2 days later and I'm pulling my hair out going, what the heck? So anyway,
Well,
thank you for validating.
It's such a weird object structure too, but it's not weird. Like, why did they do that? Because it makes sense that it's, you know, it's a joiner object between the files and the things they're connected to, and even the version records that sit underneath it are separate.
Yeah.
It makes sense. You want to load it once and link it infinite times, but it makes it impossible for us to do anything with it other than link those records, right?
Yeah. Thank you.
All right. I don't think I saw anybody else with a question, but that doesn't mean we can't. Do you want to circle back to something?
Yeah, I now remember my comment. It was based on something that Dale said. Not to pick on Dale, but he was talking about lightning and just maybe that was a comment on performance issues. I don't know. But if you are having performance issues, I went to Midwest Dreamin' earlier this summer, and Mo, one of the developer evangelists there, was showing off a bunch of developer tools. One of them being Scale Center, another one being Apex Guru, and I got a chance now in the last few weeks to use them. We installed Scale Center into our org. We installed Apex Guru. These are wonderful, magical tools. And if it wasn't in my prod org, I would show it to you. Anyone that if you're offline, you want to see it, I'll show it to you. Scale Center will look at your org and see where you're using CPU time, where you're overusing concurrent calls, like all of this stuff. It'll tell you about your org. And then Apex Guru is its little partner that scans through your code and tells you specific places in your code that are written not necessarily incorrectly, that's not the right way to say it, but written in a way that uses too much CPU, uses too much memory, and so it gives you guidance on how to change that. I was like, when I started using it, it blew my mind. So I would totally recommend Scale Center and Apex Guru for those that have the license to install it. You'll be amazed.
Agreed. Stu, are you using Code Builder yet?
I am not. That's on my path to learn. So probably in the next month.
Got it.
I'll be able to tell you more about that. But
It's
hopefully it's cool. I like things that are cool.
I mean, it's web-based VS Code, so it's just that it's in the web. You don't have to have an installed package. You have to worry about VPNs or any of the weird stuff that sometimes you have to deal with as far as licensing or connection strings or anything on org. You can install and just do your VS Code life in a browser connected specifically to your org. It's great.
I look forward to the future.
Yeah.
It should be interesting.
Unfortunately, you do have to install it, and I know some orgs are a little bit hesitant to do that, and I don't think you can install it in a sandbox. I think it's a prod thing, but it's still cool. Or no, it's not a dev thing. You can't install it in a dev org. It has to be like a licensed org, but it's great. Solid, I should say, not great, solid. All right, what else? Any other questions? I'll throw one to the wolves just for a thought. We're migrating an org, and the question came up, how are we going to get all of our archived activities converted over? There's nuance to it, but at its core, the tools that we have, things like Own, things like some of the API connections we have don't actually query archive data easily or can't restore it. So if you were going to try to migrate couple 100,000 activities. Oh, I'll also, it's a new, we're going from a sales cloud to a service cloud, or to a financial services cloud, which also means we have to create all new parents. So it's not just a one-to-one, we have to like do an extract and a mapping and stuff. So like having a tool do this is handy. But if you were going to do it, any suggestions?
Well, is there any reason besides compliance or audit that's making you migrate audit or archive tasks?
We are recording and I love my job. So
Yes.
apparently there are lots of good reasons to do it.
Okay. But as opposed to some kind of secure database on-prem or something, like that's a lot, it feels like, to try to figure out for archive data. Now, again, if it's audit and compliance and all of that, it doesn't have to make sense to make sense. Like,
Yeah.
but does it absolutely have to?
Is
Yeah,
budget a concern?
Let's
Or
assume
can-
no. Let's
Okay.
let's say that the solution is more important than the cost.
So what if you thought about it something like this? And this probably is not the right answer, but I had a similar conversation with a friend of mine at work. And if you just get rid of the whole fact that these are archived activities, these are just pieces of data that you need to get to from time to time. What if that was just what if that lived on Snowflake or on Databricks? And
Well,
now you can connect to it through Data Cloud. And that could be a zero copy interface with those. And so now it's a piece of data that lives out there that could be accessed and then link that up. And so it doesn't necessarily show up as activities. It might show up as something named differently. But your org still has access to that data. It just doesn't live on Salesforce at all.
Love it. Love it. Definitely an option. Data Cloud probably not an option, but I like where your head's at, being able to extract and connect to some sort of external data store that represents all of those activities. Love it.
So one time I had a similar problem during a merge, and we actually used PowerShell. I had to extract files and attachments. And so I was playing with content document links. It was a similar problem to what Diane had earlier. But you could, for next to nothing, because it's PowerShell, it's already on so many machines, you can use PowerShell to authenticate and extract massive amounts of whatever, create the storage structures that you need in folders or in a single file, do the mapping and translation, and then push them out, or you would at least have a file that you could use to load into the other system, Salesforce or other. So that could happen, and I can share the bones of what we did so you can see the examples. For me, I had a lot of manipulation, but it was 4 scripts and it ran relatively quickly.
Yeah.
So that's an approach.
Yeah, the thing that we kind of feel like we're going to end up owning is that because it's all new, we were hoping for a tool that did it for us. So like you can do a seed restore from Own and it would just do all the mapping for you, right? And so we were trying to get there, but it's very likely we'll have to do a full extract, manual manipulation to figure out old and new IDs, to do the relationships. So that's what it is. I'm going to throw this out there. I want to see the shock and awe on those of us who know better. If you run a script and change the complete due/date to within your frame of archiving, they unarchive. Then you could do your normal conversion and then go back through and redo it. So like do something like add 10 years to every activity. So now they're not archived. And then convert them and then subtract 10 years from all of them and then they'll archive. That's a terrifying workaround, but it would work.
I guess why, does anybody know why archive was implemented to begin with?
I do.
Why?
So in the short version, and Mike, you probably have input on this too, but the short version is, since activity is the crux of sales processing, that is the largest object storage in most orgs.
Yes.
And so reporting and analytics and anything that looks at that table slows to a grinding halt if you're reporting into it, through it, visualizing, whatever. So the archive is a way for it to say, ignore these when you run a report, ignore these when you run a flow, or not a flow. It used to be workflow rules. Flow, I think, doesn't care anymore. But like, it's really just trying to make it so you don't grind to a halt when you try to run a report or do a load a screen or a list view or something.
Which is what I figured, but I guess why I get that Salesforce, because of that, would have to set the line in the sand somewhere.
Yep.
You know, so
You're-
1 year feels safe enough. I guess, what's the risk besides performance of changing? Are you saying you have to change the date of the records themselves, or you can change the date of the mechanism that determines archive?
Yeah, so there's two responses. So you can request from Salesforce a written request to extend the archive extension up to, I think it's 5 years, maybe 10 years. I'm not sure. Might be 5.
Which would have no impact on data. You're not changing any records, right?
Right.
Okay.
It's just the processing. You can request that the sorry, what was the first question?
Do you have to change
I-
the records, or can you change the mechanism?
Oh, right. So
Yeah.
you can't change the mechanism. That's underneath the covers. All you can do is change the date so it knows when to archive. The date itself, the mechanism says, is this closed, and is the due date outside of the frame of the 1 year in theory? Check it as archived, and it runs on like Saturday mornings or every morning at 2 a.m. I forget what it is. So you can go through and change the actual due date, let it reprocess, and then suddenly they're not archived.
I mean, the obvious problem to doing that of forward backward dating, forward dating the dates, is things you probably already know about, which is, so if you've got activities that are already on a closed and perhaps even, well, not deleted, but they're against an opportunity, or they're against a campaign or event that now the dates don't line up and they don't make any sense at all. So that's a problem. And then the other one is your analytics team. If you've got an analytics team that looks at trends at like, okay, how did our accounts actually get sold to it? Well, we're going to look at activities, or they're going to emails, tasks, and events. And if all those dates are wrong, your analytics team is going to go, what did you do? Why are you hating us?
Well, we'd send them back. So there'd be a 2-day freeze where you're like, ignore the dates. We're add 10 years so it doesn't archive, move them over, subtract 10 years, then the dates would be right. And then they archive. Okay.
I
Andrew, go ahead.
ask a dumb question because I was
Please.
kind of zoned out.
It's a dumb problem. So ask a dumb question.
Can't you just have the 1 year changed? Like, we have it
And
changed in our
that's-
org.
But
Yeah,
the
but-
data,
And that's
the
what
data,
that's why you said you could put in a written request to extend it.
Yeah.
I'm aligned with you on that, Andrew.
but the data's gone.
Yeah.
The data's gone. Like, you have to get that data back in order to reset
Not
the
gone.
function.
It's just
No, it's
Archive
not
archived.
on,
gone.
you can-
It's just a flag on the record.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
And yeah, you
Well,
could change.
that's
I
a
think it puts it in a big
dumb-
object
that's-
when it's archived, though. I think
Uh,
it's
I mean,
on the back
it-
end.
That data
I think
lives
it's-
for that data lives for forever and ever and ever. There's a like a formula field mechanism at the highest level that essentially just says, have you been closed for a year or whatever? Yes, no, and that's what determines archive versus not. But if you've ever done data loader or Workbench or anything, and there's an option that says include archive data, that's what says, great, I don't care about that checkbox, just pull it all in.
It sits right next to is deleted in the table reference.
Yeah.
And it's just a true
And-
false boolean. It actually doesn't even move it, Andrew. It's still there. So you can use the same queries to make these modifications I'm talking about. You don't have to like jump objects or have different.
I think it puts it in the front end as the same. I think on the back end they put it out, and then like the front, like the UI, like the layer where if you run a SOQL query brings it back together. But on the back end, I think they do push it off into a separate storage from like the storage mechanism point of view. I don't think it's just like a check. It's a checkbox in the UI how you interact with it, but I'm pretty sure like that it goes off into a different type of, I think, big objects essentially, kind of like how share records are. I don't know, if you look on the back end, I think it's somewhat pushed off, but
No, they're all still on task or event.
Yeah, I mean, it's super weird. And oh, to your other point, Andrew, actually, other people asked that too. We've had our archive date moved as far as they're willing to move it, which is, I think it's 5 years. I'm trying to remember, but we have stuff that's out of that range that still apparently needs to move. So, appreciate that as an idea, but it's still a concern. Anyway, again, just a thought. I mean, I like. This is an opportunity to use Data Cloud. This is an opportunity to use external objects and just be like, this is the way we got to do it. Sorry, but I don't know if we can. Oh, I'll stop rambling. Michael's actually got something of value for the group, so let's jump to him.
I don't know that it's valuable, but I have a question. I'm working on a ScreenFlow. It's going to display. It's not a data table. It's not displaying records. It's displaying a whole bunch of data fetcher results, like number, aggregate counts in a table like you would have in a Word doc. Can you put a tab in a display text component or do anything else that would allow me to make something that very much looked like a table and could copy paste into Google Sheets or Word? Right now, it seems that if I use the sections and I break up into columns, it actually goes down and then across. So if I copy paste, I get all of column 1, then all of column 2, which is not what I want. I can show it will be production data, but it's just a couple of numbers that aren't going to mean anything. So I'm not that worried if you don't understand the question.
If you don't mind doing that, I think it would help.
Sure.
Are you looking for something that doesn't involve code?
Yes.
Oh,
That's
Oh,
gonna be hard.
wow.
Yeah, I was gonna say, because I think in behind the
I'm-
scenes, like you're showing
I'm
here,
so sorry for you, Mike.
Data fetcher brings it into a it's not a variable, it's that thing.
Yeah. No,
So
no.
then-
I'm making. I'll show you. All right. So ton of data fetchers. This is only the beginning, but a ton of data fetchers, and then I'm displaying the results of them in this quote unquote table, and it does work. Here's the resulting table. But you can see from my selecting it, right? If I try to select the first 2 rows, it did the whole column. And so pasting it into Word, it's not going to be a table anymore.
Well,
So
that's
I was thinking I could put, I could not do it within columns down here. I could put this value and then a tab and then the next value that's over here and then a tab. Yeah, I mean, it'll be a nightmare to look at, but I don't even think I can get a tab in here.
What is all of this data in one place trying to depict?
Great question. It is in fact meant to be the data appendix for a grant reports, and like literally, oh, we need to generate a new grant report. Give me a new start date, a new end date, which school year we're talking about, and spit out the number of kids who are in each grade and how many of them left before the end of the program. And then there's like 16 more pages worth of data that's going to need to be in here.
Can I give you something really quick that you didn't ask for, but I think you should do? Just because of
Sure.
how you're showing the flow. You can make it so you actually have lightning around it, even though you probably launched it from you don't have to have it where it's in a visual force page, just so you know, if you have it, or if you're launching from a list view.
Oh yeah, no, I'm going to launch it from LaunchFlow in Modal.
Okay, then that works.
I'm only building it right now, so I just hit the run button.
I missed the run button part. I thought you had done it from a list view and it was launching over. Because I used to have a flow that was like that, and users got pissed because it would put them into Neverland with no header, no any way to get back.
No. It will be in LaunchFlow in Modal when it's done, but I'm still building it. This is, version 1, still inactive. I just hit the run button.
Okay, so I can't remember off the top of my head. If you had the data in a data table could you copy just the row?
I'm not
Yes.
actually sure.
Yes, because
I-
every
I
so
was-
what's happening is every frame is selectable. So if you have as a row, you're picking row 1. Because you've got these sections, you've got column 1 as your first selection.
So that's what I was thinking. Why don't you just create an object, use a data table, slam the data into the object, and just purge the object every day? Like wherever you're getting this data from, just throw it into an object so that you can use a data table, right? If we're looking for a scrappy code-free solution, that will work. It is ugly. I wouldn't recommend it to a big company with a budget, but a nonprofit that just needs to make some stuff happen should work.
Or how do well, or how does DLRS play into this to then be something that's a report
Yeah,
when you said it
yeah,
needs to end up in a spreadsheet anyway?
Yeah.
Well,
Putting in an object and reporting it would be pretty slick.
yeah, putting it in an object is interesting. This is, you're only seeing the like very beginning of this grant report. So there's a whole lot more that doesn't look like a table. It's like much more narrative, but the
Yeah.
idea of slamming it into a holding object is interesting.
Yeah, because it's you, I really wanted to tell you that objects scale really well. I think you could use them.
So help me understand, Michael, because I mean, I know like I am so not trying to patronize and demean your experience because you are one of my idols, actually. What has your overall approach to this need been? Did you spend a lot of time with all the formulas and everything to then get to ScreenFlow, or I am not judging. I'm not judging the answer. Or was it let's try ScreenFlow and kind of working backwards to how's it all going to work? Like, yeah, I'll stop there.
No, that's a great question. So this is a very picky client. Oh God, I have their name up on the screen. Anyway, they're never going to see
I'm
this.
already editing other chunks of this call out. I might not even post it. We'll see. Whatever.
So my original approach to this, and I still believe it's the right one, was almost all the data that's in their data appendix or will be, is reportable. So I build a pile of reports and I put them on dashboards. It's actually like 3 dashboards to start with because they have so many items they want on their data appendix. This table, of course, becomes one item on one component on a dashboard, but many of the others. So dashboards was my first approach. They didn't like it for 2 reasons. One, they don't like the format. They want it in a Google Doc. They really want it in a Google Doc, and they're not willing to accept anything else. But 2, it couldn't be done as a filterable dashboard because the various components have different start and end date fields that you can't use
overlapping segments on a timeline. Yeah.
Right. So, okay, fine. So then my next approach was, how about I give you a dashboard whose underlying reports are meant to be each edited with you adding start date and end date filters, and then you refresh the dashboard and it's ready to go to create your data appendix. They were not 100% sold. They really want a button that creates the data appendix as a Google Doc or darn close to that. And so I thought I would try a pilot of seeing if it could be done as a ScreenFlow and look more or less like what they want. Honestly, if the copy paste thing doesn't work, this is still darn close to what they want.
Can you say again why you're not using data table?
Because these aren't records.
These are aggregates.
These are aggregates.
Can't you display an Apex defined an Apex defined object in a data table where you can make essentially what is an object, but it's not an object because it's like Apex defined, and then display that?
You just said Apex. I don't think.
He said Apex twice at least. I don't code.
ChatGPT. I don't.
But I could make an object that I declaratively filled. That's fine. Right. I think I'm foolishly showing you a table, and you're all fixated on the idea of this appendix being a table, but later parts of the appendix are not a table.
What if you build?
No, I'm fixated on, I just wanted to make sure how the approach got here, because I feel like I smell like you have a PowerPoint slide in your future that lists pros and cons, and the cons list is significantly longer than the pros.
You may be right. ScreenFlow may be a terrible option here. Anyway.
No, the only
I have a
reason
piloting.
the only reason why I'm focused on the table is because you are trying to do select, copy, and paste as if it were a table.
Sure.
And I'm like, well, the Lightning data table actually will do that. It just has a checkbox. You check box and it selects the whole row. So I'm like,
Right.
I'm not sure why Michael's trying to swim upstream on this one. If it's truly a table, then treat it like a table.
It's the next section of the data appendix that I can't really show you because that would be somewhat, well,
That's okay.
anyway, like.
But can it be
next
both?
thing they want is like 91% of kids are Hispanic, 5%
Yeah.
are Asian, 3% are in narrative. Now, again, if we do the object idea, I could pull it from there and merge in stuff. The other reason I was thinking ScreenFlow was they want to be able to do a different report, a different grant period for each report. So I have to have some place where it asks them start date and end date, which would be a ScreenFlow. That could then create this object record that I then pull stuff from. But I'm already in ScreenFlow world, which is why I was.
Well, Michael, can't it be both? Can't you use what you're doing now to build this table and then jump in the same ScreenFlow and do the other thing too? It doesn't have to achieve both goals.
Yeah.
I guess
Yeah, no,
I'm a little heavy, but
you've given me some good ideas to think about. And if I created the object, I could then use actual mail merge, like SDocs or Epson and DocGen or whatever. This client definitely doesn't want to, pay for anything.
Is the goal just to put it into another doc, like to paste in like essentially a Word doc or Google? Could you not build whatever the clipboard needs to look like and use the copy to clipboard like flow unofficial SF button? So like if you click that, it'll put whatever you put as the variable into your clipboard, and it doesn't matter what it displays as. So can't you just like build whatever? If you go and copy the table, there's like websites called like View Your Clipboard, paste it into a clipboard, see how it's kind of formatted, and then you find out, okay, between each row that you want to display, you need to put this thing. Do you know what I'm kind of saying, I guess?
I do.
Like,
I do.
And
Yeah.
then you could kind of build essentially that, and then you put that as whatever's behind the clipboard button.
Let me ask this from a different approach. How often does the raw data change or add? Like, is it fairly static? Is it persistently added to and changed? Like,
It's fairly static. They're it's a long story. They're only like going in and entering kids' grades, every 6 months. They're not working and living in Salesforce anyway.
because I'm wondering is like maybe it takes elements that everybody has brought up, but if the data set is relatively static, maybe you don't need something that's persistently available in Salesforce, and it's just an occasional aggregator, whether it's through ScreenFlow to put into objects that nobody sees the light of day in UI, to then just aggregate to export either through SDocs or the unofficial SF component that Andrew mentioned or whatever. But
Yeah.
leverage the staticness of the data to your advantage.
Yeah, well, to me, that sounds very similar to the idea of like put in start and end date and generate a record of this data appendix holding object.
Yes, it does. Yeah. But what I'm saying is don't worry so much about this interface here. Like just get rid of this
agreed.
interface.
Yeah. Right. The interface would be give me a start date and end date. And then the next thing it does is like redirect you to the DocGen, whatever tool.
Mm-hmm.
Or whatever. Yeah, no, that's interesting.
I absolutely want to give you mad credit that like if this were to get into being like a fully sustainable solution, this looks friggin' awesome.
Doesn't it look amazing?
I want it to work for you. I absolutely do.
It does look really good.
I just wonder if the complexities of everything are maybe more than what the solution might actually require.
I'm in total agreement. This was a thanks, Andrew. Yeah. I'm in total agreement that like doing this in a ScreenFlow was not the first right way, but then I thought of like, wait, I think I can get, and then this was my proof of concept, and it's kind of proving out in a nifty way, but I'm also bumping against some of the limitations.
Right.
And, for those, playing the home game, let's just note, right, sure, it's a one element ScreenFlow so far, but look how much crap is behind the scenes. Oh yeah, and don't miss.
Oh yeah. I literally just worked on something very similar this week on a project that I'm on. I am feeling you. I am absolutely feeling you. and the flow, like the flow builder right there, about the same size as what you have. For all those things, 100% feeling you.
Yeah.
We have less than 30 seconds. Can I just ask really quick? I've never seen Data Fetcher in action, but it seems like a lot of people have. Thumbs up or thumbs down? Is it something I should be looking at?
You absolutely should.
Cool. All right. Should everybody be looking at it? All right, cool. All right.
If you use ScreenFlows and you want to pass data back and forth, yes. Data
Well, I mean,
fetch.
I even like the idea of being able to just run a query and update a record without having to like do lots of gets and cycles and any, like if I can just aggregate queries to update a value with a screen with a record triggered flow, kick ass. So
I don't think you can use it in record trigger
Yeah.
flow. I think it's ScreenFlow only. It's a screen thing.
Right now
But
it's a
it
ScreenFlow,
essentially-
but I like that idea.
Yeah, it allows you to run a SOQL query with, and that SOQL query can be dynamic from the inputs on the screen, but you could even just write the string in, which is, I know there's an unofficial SF component, but right here.
I'm loving everything you're saying, Michael, even if it has to be a ScreenFlow. All right, cool. Thank you, everyone. It was awesome to see you. It'll be even better to see you in 2 weeks. Safe travels, Joy. Everyone have a
Thank
great
you.
weekend, and we will see you on the 18th.
All right.
Bye.